I can still remember that Thursday night like it was yesterday. It started out completely normal. My mom was working a late shift at the hospital, and my two older brothers were away at college, so I had our massive house all to myself. To kill the loneliness, I invited a few friends over. We hung out, watched a baseball game, grabbed some cold drinks, and ordered some snacks. By midnight, the game was over and my friends headed out through the back door. I went upstairs to the kitchen, tossed the leftovers and extra drinks into the fridge, and headed to my bedroom. I flicked off the lights, crawled into bed, and lay there trying to fall asleep. That was when the quiet of the house was broken by the faint sound of footsteps coming up the stairs. I figured my mom had finally finished her shift and made it home. A few moments later, I heard her clear her throat as she passed my bedroom door and went into the bathroom. After that, she went back downstairs into the kitchen and started making a ton of noise, clattering cabinets and banging dishes around. Hearing that much noise in the middle of the night was incredibly annoying, but I didn't have the energy to get out of bed and tell her to quiet down. Being lazy, I just grabbed my phone off the desk and texted her, "Mom, please stop making so much noise. I'm trying to sleep." I placed the phone back on the desk and rolled over to get comfortable. Right then, I heard a heavy, rapid pounding of footsteps rushing straight back up the stairs. My bedroom door slowly creaked open and someone stepped into the room. The hallway lights were off, so I couldn't see their face, but in the dim shadows I could clearly make out my mother's silhouette. She was leaning slightly forward, just standing there by the door. In a deeply annoyed voice, I said, "Mom, please stop making so much noise." No answer. I sat up in bed and called out again, "Mom?" When a stranger standing in the shadows mimics the outline of your own mother, your familiar bed turns into a living grave. To experience these suffocating psychological horror archives every week, subscribe to Grim Gaze right now. Right at that exact second, the phone on my desk vibrated violently. It was late, so out of curiosity, I reached over and picked it up to see who was messaging me. The moment my eyes hit the screen, my entire body went numb. The text was from my mom. It read, "I'm still at the hospital, tied up with work." An absolute wave of terror hit me. I dropped the phone onto the mattress and looked back up at the door. The figure leaning in the darkness was not my mother. Even though I was panicking inside, I forced myself to stay calm. I played dumb, pretending I didn't know anything, and said in a totally casual voice, "Mom, I'm really tired. Just go outside." I desperately needed her to think I hadn't figured it out yet. But the silhouette in the doorway didn't move an inch. Shaking uncontrollably, I quickly texted my mom back, "Someone is in the house. I thought it was you. Call the cops right now." She immediately replied, "Okay, I'm sending the police." A few seconds later, the freezing silence of the bedroom shattered. A woman's voice, freakishly raspy, harsh, and sinister, began to mutter into the dark. I strained my ears to understand what she was saying, and my skin crawled as I realized she was repeating the same phrase over and over again. "I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go." As her voice grew louder and harsher, I felt her starting to step out of the shadows, moving directly towards my bed. Terrified, I screamed, "Stay back!" and frantically clawed at the dark, searching for the switch on my bedside lamp. The light clicked on, and the sight before me made my breath catch in my throat. It was an old woman with wild, matted white hair. She was extending her wrinkled, skeletal hands directly towards me, shuffling closer to my bed while chanting that same eerie line. I leapt out of bed in a single motion, bolted past her out of the room, slammed the bedroom door shut from the hallway, and threw my entire body weight against it to hold it closed. A split second later, a violent force slammed against the door from the inside, trying to wrench it open. The old woman began frantically beating against the wood, screaming, "I need to get out! Let me out!" I stood there for what felt like an eternity, gripping the doorknob with everything I had. My mom kept trying to call my phone, but there was no way I could let go of the door to answer it. Finally, when the police arrived and kicked through the front door, I let go of the knob and flew down the stairs. The old woman burst out of the room and chased right after me, but the officers intercepted her, pinning her against the wall and slapping on the handcuffs. The police later told me she was a severely unstable woman from the area who had been wandering the streets and slipped inside when she found an opening. After they cleared out, I discovered exactly how she got in. When my friends left through the back door earlier that night, I had completely forgotten to lock it behind them. To this day, whenever I hear a faint noise in my room while trying to sleep, I have to sit up and look just to make sure there's not a white-haired woman standing in my doorway. My name is Jane. That Thursday night back in 2009 stripped away every ounce of safety I ever felt in my own home. My mom was working a graveyard shift at the hospital, so after finishing my dinner, I was just hanging out in my room working on my laptop. After my friends left the house, a heavy, dead silence settled over the neighborhood. I eventually crawled into bed, and just as I was drifting off into a deep sleep, I heard the distinct, slow sound of footsteps walking up the stairs from the downstairs hallway. I smiled to myself, completely certain it was my mom coming home, jingling her keys. A moment later, the sound of the bathroom door opening and the loud clattering of dishes in the kitchen confirmed my theory. But the sheer volume of the noise in the middle of the night was ruining my sleep. Feeling completely annoyed, I reached out into the dark, grabbed my phone, and typed out a text to my mom. "Mom, please keep it down a bit. I have an early class tomorrow." I hit send and closed my eyes, expecting the noise to stop. But barely a minute later, I heard someone rapidly rushing up the stairs. My bedroom door was violently pushed open, and someone stepped into the room. With the hallway lights completely blacked out, all I could see was a tall, looming silhouette leaning awkwardly against the doorframe. I sat up in bed and asked, "Mom, what is wrong with you?" Right at that moment, the phone in my hand buzzed. I looked down, and my mom's reply flashed across the screen. "I haven't even been able to leave the hospital yet, sweetie. Why do you ask?" When the very walls of your house fail to protect you and an unlocked door invites a nightmare inside, time completely stands still. For more bone-chilling psychological horror and dark mysteries, subscribe to Grimgaze right now. The second I read that text, the hairs on the back of my neck stood dead on end. If my mom was at work, who was standing at my bedroom door? I forced my breathing to slow down, trying desperately to pretend I hadn't realized the truth. I said, "Mom, I'm really not feeling well. Please just go back to your room." But the silhouette didn't move an inch. Hidden under the blanket, I quickly typed out a frantic text to my mom, telling her to call 911. Right then, a raspy, grating voice materialized from the dark corner of the room. It belonged to an old woman. Her voice trembled violently as she muttered, "I don't know where to go. Please, just give me a place to stay." As she spoke, she began creeping out of the darkness toward me, extending her long, claw-like fingernails straight toward me. I couldn't take it anymore. I reached over and frantically slapped the switch on my desk lamp. As the light flooded the room, revealing her deeply wrinkled, pale face and her wildly aggressive eyes, I leaped off the mattress and sprinted for the exit. I threw myself out into the hallway and slammed the bedroom door shut, holding it tight with every ounce of strength in my body. From inside the room, the deranged woman grabbed the handle and began violently twisting and yanking it, throwing heavy kicks against the wood while shrieking, "Let me out! Let me out!" I held on to that door for dear life, knowing that if she broke through, she would tear me apart. It took almost 20 agonizing minutes before the blare of police sirens finally echoed down our street. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold on. The officers burst into the house, rushed upstairs, and immediately subdued the mentally ill woman. It turned out that when my friends left earlier that night, they had accidentally left the back door completely unlatched. This woman had wandered right into our yard, stepped through the open door, and walked straight up to my bedroom. Ever since that horrific night, I check every single lock in the house 10 times over before I even think about closing my eyes. Which of these two scenarios gave you the worst chills? If you looked down at your phone and saw a text from your mom while her silhouette was standing right in front of you, what would you have done in that exact moment? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If these archives left you looking over your shoulder, drop a like on the video and share it with a friend. And to make sure you never miss our next descent into deep psychological horror, subscribe to Grimgaze and stay with us. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe, keep your doors locked, and watch the shadows. Thank you.